everybody, it's Table 13. We are back again. This is Irrational Radio. I am, of course, a wooden leg. Up there is Shady Ankle Bottoms, and over there is Mr. E. We are back again with some more Tasha's Cauldron. It literally does have everything. So we are just exploring that now. Ah!
What happened?
No, OBS decided to start playing something else, so I had to really quick mute things. But now we're back. It's fine. Everything's okay now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Wasn't porn, was it?
No, it wasn't porn. No, not that's the other tab.
Not this time.
Right, not this time. So yes, we're here talking about the Artificer, the newest class that Tasha's Cauldron has put together. It is really cool. I'm really excited about it. There is a lot of neat stuff that you can do with the Artificer in this class. There's a lot of neat niches you can explore as like one of those classes that can take a lot of combat roles. So maybe you have a party that it doesn't have a lot of combat power. This class can slot a lot of places that maybe some other maybe other fighting classes or martial classes or magic classes couldn't quite sink into. So
yeah, I definitely agree. There's a ton of different like roles that you can fill as with the Artificer class. If you build your character in different ways, you can be a tank, you can be a ranged striker, you can be a melee striker, you can be a sneaky, you can be a skill, you can there's a mess of different ways to get at this. And the other thing that I think is really cool is that it's like narratively very flexible. You can do a ton of different like ways to manifest these different builds. They're all like kind of got their thing going on, but they're all very customizable as well. And like you can reskinning or multi-classing with other stuff to sort of rebrand. Like these add that whole vein of like magical technology, which is a fun splice or whatever.
No, and I've been a big fan of Artificer since basically since I got into D&D. And I've watched the UA and like the the sort of unofficial builds for Artificer. And this, I really like where they've landed with it. Where it sort of started was not very powerful or very, very just one track with like the gunner class or whatever that they had prior. That was just very much just you have one thing that you can do. And I really like where they've moved with it. It's a lot different.
It is.
Yeah, they had a couple, it was 3 or so archetypes with the revisited. I think the one before that was pretty like one size fits all. You pretty much just crank out magic items with the original, but it's I think that's the other thing that's pretty interesting is I was saying when we were doing a flyover, I wasn't sure how different it was from the previous printings of this, and it is significantly different. Like it's it's a whole class. And a lot of the main core abilities they've reworked and kind of reinstalled some stuff from the ground up. Some of the things that like were in specific like they took the Alchemist isn't making homoculi anymore,
right?
Things like that. They gave like a healing build to the Alchemist. I don't know, there's just, it is much more flexible. It can serve a ton of different like roles in the mechanical sense. And then they were interesting with the it was interesting with the sort of the infusions are a different mechanic that doesn't exist in another class. It's kind of like invocations, but it's different. And, they have their own unique spell list.
Which is also
fun.
Really
they
neat.
Added something that's different, which is cool.
So let's get right into this then. So their proficiencies are intelligence and no. Where were we? I looked at quick build and it says intelligence followed by constitution and dexterity, which makes sense,
It's
especially
I'd be
Constitution and
surprised if they
Intelligence.
don't
Constitution
have
and
intelligence.
intelligence.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
yeah.
intelligence casting class.
Right.
So.
That's what I figured.
Yes.
Which is cool because I don't think that there isn't another class that gets intelligence and constitution as starting saving throw proficiencies. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Not together, I don't think.
Right.
Yes. Sorcerer's charisma
And I think the only other intelligence caster is wizard.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
So
I mean,
yeah. Intelligence doesn't get a lot of love in the caster field.
No.
So to see that
absolutely
is refreshing. We have a little less dump stat intelligent characters.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Which we do see a lot of dump statting
it
in
is
like
kind of
martial characters.
Well, across the board, because there aren't a ton of spells that target intelligence either. So you really tend to not, like mechanically, it isn't represented super well in a ton of other classes. I think it's nice that there's something other than wizard that you actually want intelligence in. And it's not a class that you can just have intelligence in, because you're not just, I mean, you could make it much like a wizard or something where you're a glass cannon kind of character or something, but I think they're much more effective if you, or well, I don't know. I enjoy the idea of them being in the front and stuff like that. That's true. Arcane Trickster, I think, is intelligence.
Yeah, but that's a subclass.
Eldritch,
and I think
Eldritch Knight too. I think
Eldritch Knight is as well. Yeah, some of the subclasses probably. Of the martial, the half casters, but
and it's interesting if you just look at the starting equipment for the Artificer. They do seem a little almost roguish. Because you get 2 simple weapons of your choice, a light crossbow, 20 bolts, your choice of studded leather armor or scale mail, and thieves' tools and a dungeoneer's pack. And that's interesting that you start off with thieves' tools, seeing as how I think that was like the best
like
representation.
Stuff.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Was the idea there? But this I agree that it kind of like blurs the lines between like thieves' tools and tinker's tools here, because it sort of implies that basically, I mean, you can use the thieves' tools as your focus for your like magical tinkering ability. It lets you use one of your tool sets, and like that is. Thieves' tools can be one of those. That's like, it's not really one I think of like that, but I guess if you think it has the trap setting, trap building kind of stuff, it makes some sense.
It does. And though
picks to
and I want us to remember this, because there's in the sub, or the fields of Artificer, what do they call it? They're not subclasses, they're archetypes. Specialists. Artificer specialists. The specialist, because each class has its own like label of, like druids get circles and yada yada. So I guess artificers are specialists, but I want us to keep this in mind of like the idea that they use thieves' tools to create the things that they create, because I have a small nitpick, but that comes later.
I'm sure that you also get the proficiency for the tool set that you're supposed to use for that.
Right. I would hope so. Yeah, because I mean, you can
you get proficiency in Tinker's tools.
But you also get one in whatever your subclass is, gets a one that's tied to whatever your tinkering thing is, if you don't already have it, and then you pick up another one if you do. So you do end up with way more tool sets than other classes too.
Yeah, just straight off your class. That doesn't even counting backgrounds. Like you could end up with a lot of tool sets just starting out as level 1. It's just like, oh yeah, I got the tools of a thief, beer maker. I also have, like this artisan tool set over here, it'd be hilarious. So, we should just get into the magical tinkering. You've referenced it a little bit already, but you've learned how the text is. You've learned how to invest a spark of magic into mundane objects. To use this ability, you must have these tools or artisan tools in hand. You then touch a tiny, non-magical object as an action and give it one of the following magical properties of your choice. Which is interesting because This doesn't actually turn that item into a magic item. It just bestows magical properties onto the item. It is an important distinction in the Artificer class, is because of the infusions turn the item magical. So it counts against your...
different?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because it literally says in the text that infusions turn the object magical, and you have to use attunement to attach to it. And if you can either choose to attune to it immediately or use regular. But yeah, in the magic tinkering...
But attunement and having magical... Right, but having magical properties, I don't... Like, doesn't that mean it's magical? Isn't that like...
Well, I guess in order to use these magical items...
magic, you would get some kind of reading off of it.
I guess...
Like, they're not attunement required.
Right, but you can still use them.
Right? Yeah. Or I don't know, I guess, honestly.
Yeah, no, they don't need attunement, but yeah.
Right, but things can be magical without requiring
without requiring attunement. I guess I confused myself a little bit on the attunement and magical items. But I suppose, could you use one of your infusions on one of these items? Or could you use your magical tinkering on a magical item that already works?
You have to choose a tiny...
a non-magical item. Yeah, non-magical object.
It does specify... Okay, yes. That says it has to be non-magical.
Does the infusions require non-magical item too?
I think there's a lot of different infusions, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, in order to be...
But as a general rule, like, I don't think, like, infusing an item... Okay, you can touch a non-magical object and imbue it with one of your Artificer infusions, turning it into a magic item.
Okay.
So it appears there that it is specifies that you can't...
you can't magical tinkering an infused
It's got to be a
item.
mundane object.
It's probably to keep
that's a weird gray
crapping a bunch of infusions onto one item.
Right.
You can't actually.
Right. It also says that. Yeah. Or just dropping a bunch of different effects
armor
on a mundane object.
Different.
So interesting. These magical tinkering abilities, I think they're really cool, and they're much more useful than the gnome tinkering. I think that we see in like gnomish tinkering. You know, because technically you could have gnomish tinkering and magical tinkering at the same time. And I think the gnomish objects you create are non-magical, are they not?
They're not,
they're just little clock.
They're actual like mechanical devices.
Right. So if you were a gnome artificer, though, you could create a small non-magical item and then enchant it with this ability. So you could basically make they're not...
Make it stink.
Yeah, make it stink. Anyway, so the things that you can do is the object sheds bright light in a 5-foot radius and dim light for an additional 5 feet. So basically Gandalf's staff. Whenever tapped by a creature, the object emits a recorded message that can be heard up to 10 feet away. You utter the message when you bestow this property on the object, and the recording can be no more than 6 seconds long. So that's exactly the amount of time it takes to record a vine. So anything that you can say in a vine, you can put on this.
Artificers can do vines.
Can do vines. Yeah. It's just their own vine.
They make like a whole system of like basically D&D vine.
Yeah, right.
Social media. Okay.
The object continuously emits your choice of an odor or a non-verbal sound. Wind, leaves, chirping, or the like. The chosen phenomenon is perceivable up to 10 feet away. I love that because it's just any odor. It's just an odor. Any odor. Or any non-verbal sound.
It's like thaumaturgy or something along those lines. You know, it's
or prestidigitation.
Those spells that kind of let you do different things.
I like the thought.
It's like a flex spell.
That an artificer like uses like a little like stone as his white noise machine so that he can sleep at night.
Outside of 10 feet, you don't even hear it. That's kind of crazy.
Right. So. And you can do this to multiple objects too. So you could have like an object that shits bright light, and then another object that's like attached to it that's like go away, something like that, or like literally a vine. Because the next one is the static visual effect appears on one of the object's surfaces. The object can be a picture up to 25 words of text, lines and shapes, or a mixture of those elements as you like. So yeah, you could literally have like a flat rock that's displaying an image, and then the verbal component of the vine overplaying over top of the image. So you can make memes as an artificer and then put them in places.
Artificers are meme lords.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I know. That's
So
great.
What I think it's really awesome about it, though, is this next part, that it lasts
indefinitely.
So like you do this, and it never goes away unless you do it, more times than your intelligence modifier,
whatever. Yeah, you gotta like remove it. That's great.
Yep.
Like that is pretty funny.
You just make like the earring that the bard is wearing smell like body odor
all the time.
Forever.
It's just like, why can I just not wash that off? It's awful. And then they go through like a detect magic and like, sir, your earring is going off. It's like, what the fuck? That's just copper. Like, yeah.
God damn it.
Damn it.
Frank!
Yeah. They also, you could be an incredible prankster character with an artificer. You take a wafer and hide it in someone's room and make it smell like garbage, and then they spend the next long rest trying to find the garbage wafer. So you can
make cicada noises.
Or make cicada chirps every 25 to 15
ruin
seconds.
Somebody's whole life. Random intervals.
So that's pretty cool. That alone is a neat,
Yeah, no.
So you can
cool
it's not overly
little set of
powerful or
cantrip
anything.
level.
Yeah,
but it is pretty neat. It's a neat like ribbon. There's some decent like functionality to it that can be used. Basically makes it to where you don't have to have thaumaturgy or anything like that.
Yeah, but if you do, it just gives you an ability to do more of that as well.
More with it.
Yeah. So the maximum number of objects you can affect with this feature at one time is equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of one object, obviously. If you succeed your maximum, the oldest property immediately ends and the new property applies. So it kind of like rotates, which is interesting. You could set up some kind of Rue Goldberg like thing like that goes off as you are like recasting these, and then the other effect ends. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. It'd be interesting.
You could though.
Yeah. So you get spellcasting, obviously level 1.
The only
the
real
cool part
important
about that,
things is that your focus is your tool set.
Yep. Or some kind of artifice.
And
it would be either thieves
it looks
tools
like
or some kind of artisan tool.
Yep.
doing that thing, not casting magical spells.
Yeah.
It's like you have like a heal ray or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got like little fucking robot.
Which I've
that's
always
knitting up
loved
wounds is one of the
doing with
examples they give.
artificers. Is like your spells are like these little devices you've
I love
created, and you're
they-
like, color, or I think what's the one that blinds people? Color rays or color something?
color spray.
Color spray, and I don't know if it's on this. I know it used to be on the list. I don't know if it's on this one, but it was like a little like party popper that just shot out lights and stuff when you hit the end
pepper
of it.
spray. That was what I'd use it for.
Oh,
Sheen.
Nice.
Pepper spray, that's good. See, and that's the thing. Like you could. It takes all these spells that every other class utilizes basically the same way, and lets you put some like really cool little flavor on them.
I like that they've put that into text, that it's okay to do that. You're allowed to change it if it's not a sentence that has numbers in it. Like it doesn't matter if it's not like mechanics. If it's just the fluff sentences, you can do whatever you want with them.
Doesn't
so
matter.
I love that they're like introducing that, and there's bits in the back or in between this and the custom things about spellcasters customizing their spells, and it's a similar vein that you can just like do what you want. The mechanics don't change, but how it happens is up to you, kind of thing.
Yep.
I think that's a cool direction.
And
then the spellcasting focus is with the tool set. That was kind of the same deal.
There's spellcasting.
But another thing they.
Oh yeah, go on. Yeah, sorry.
I was gonna move on to the cantrips thing that they with all the casters now, they've given them the option that every time you take a level in that class, you can swap out one of your cantrips, or at least I've seen that in a lot of the writing in these now, that's like an optional feature that you can add into a lot of the spellcasting classes, that it's like you can start swapping out your lists and everything more regularly, and that's like that's nice. That's pretty cool. Like it's a cool
Especially once you
flexibility
get
thing.
like more first level spell slots, and like maybe you had something that was basically like it became obsolete by a first level spell you took, and now that you have
You got slots
5 first level spell slots, you're like, well, I don't really need that cantrip anymore. You can use something different.
Yeah, get something else. So yes, they also give you more spells too. They give you a new spell list, which is I don't think has happened yet in 5e with new releases. They haven't released any more spells that for new created new classes
that are specific.
That's right.
This is like Warlock. Warlock got some like spells that nobody else gets. I don't think that there are any here that aren't on any other list. I'd have to go through and check.
I think there are. I think there are some spells that are only Artificer spells that no other class gets.
Go through that.
Yeah. But so yeah, when we hit spells, we'll talk about that. We do have this really cool new feature, which is Infuse item at 2nd level, which is neat. You've gained the ability to imbue mundane items with certain magical infusions, turning these objects into magical items, which is neat. You must attune to them. You get to choose from the list of Artificer infusions below. It's you infuse them during a long rest. You touch it and just choose what do you imbue it with. But some of these are really neat.
Well, and this sort of makes up for that, like the magical items you just create as an artificer in the earlier renditions of this.
Right.
Like 3rd level, you'd get like a bag of holding or something. This sort of is what that's manifested as now, and you can utilize it for new stuff too. So it's not, like I actually run an artificer and didn't realize I was playing the Tasha's artificer. But I was. It must have been on the pre-release when they had that out early on D&D Beyond. But you can use these infusions for creating things like a what the hell, the jar that produces whatever kind of liquid you want out of it, or like a bag of holding. You can also use it to do a lot of other really cool things that aren't just creating an item.
Yeah, some of them are other magical effects that aren't on, that isn't just like, okay, your sword's now like a +1 sword. There's some really kind of interesting stuff there. But if we want to just go through those,
I think that we should.
After everything else in here, we're kind of jumping around a bunch. It seems like we skip spells, and now we're jumping to the end of the chapter. Like,
I think it makes sense. It makes sense in my head to go to infusions, I suppose.
So yeah, there's
sense in Kyron's head.
They do. Yeah, you can do stuff that affects your armor, and if you have the armorer thing, you can each like piece of your armor has different slots or whatever. One of the infusions you can turn into a homunculus, so they just give that to everybody. Looks like that's cool.
Some of the infusions require you to be a certain level. Others just require a certain item, so you can enchant certain types of items or certain classes of items to make them do some pretty cool things. Like, they are straight up magical items. It's pretty neat.
They definitely took a page from the Eldritch Invocations book when putting these together, like little mini things
and
you
actually
put on your character or on items.
I just realized one of them is the replicate items, and you do basically just crank out one of a list of. That's really neat.
Yeah,
nice.
That's what
I think that's the same basically that they had in the original Artificer. I want to say that's a similar list anyway. I'd have to go back and like actually go item by item. That's really cool.
I really love.
I didn't think they kept that.
You can do stuff like returning weapon. The weapon gains a +1 bonus to attack damage rolls and returns to the wielder's hand immediately after it is used to make a ranged attack. Basically, get Thor's hammer on whatever you want to turn it into. So those are cool.
Yes,
those are cool.
That stuff's really nice.
Repeating shot's really neat. I use that on my artificer. He has like a revolver, and because ammo is hard to come by, he just uses repeating shot, which basically makes it to where he doesn't have to use ammunition; just shoots magic basically now. But it makes it a +1 magic item basically that you don't have to put ammo in anymore.
Right.
It produces its own ammo.
That's cool.
Whenever you make a ranged attack.
Yep.
And it lets you remove the loading property, which is really cool too.
That's really neat. So yeah, most of these give like +1s and then some cool ability like Radiant Weapon gains +1 attack and damage rolls. And while using it, the wielder can take a bonus action that causes shed bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. The wielder can extinguish the light as a bonus action. And you get 4 charges, and you can use a charge immediately after being hit by an attack as a reaction. And you spell 1 charge and cause the attacker to be blinded until the end of the attacker's next turn, unless they succeed on a Constitution saving throw. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
A lot of interest. And then the idea of grabbing, a couple levels of Artificer,
Right.
so you can pick up 1 or 2 of these, and then starting to multi-class and other things with that is there's a whole slew of different interesting options that get opened up if you go 3 levels into Artificer and then whatever else. You've got they're a half caster, but they're still a very like potent magical user class, so it's cool. It's a fun split.
It's really neat.
It's not like where Paladin or Ranger, it's you're basically just a, martial class with some magical, stuff that magnifies your abilities in combat. You've got some utility stuff, which is really fun.
And stuff that you can give to your other party members too, because it doesn't say that you have to use these. It's just like you just give the infusion, and then here's your Boots of the Winding Path, Ranger. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it helps you like tailor the party's magical, like if somebody gets an item or whatever, like they can get that, or if the Artificer can use it, then they can like use one of their infusions on somebody else's mundane boots now or something like that. You can start to spread the stuff around the party, because that maximum attunement limit is going to come up pretty quick still, I think. For you're going to be able to do more infusions than you can attune to stuff generally. And
a good thing that it does allow the Artificer does allow you more spell magic item attunement slots. Going back to the features.
I don't know how many of these things you'll use at once that require attunement. I mean, you could literally just build like, there is like an armor smith.
Infusions do, right?
Even without being an armor smith, you could make yourself basically a Tony Stark by attuning and using all of your infusions on this other stuff.
Absolutely. So you can kind of specialize, I suppose, in the other Artificer specialties it doesn't force you down. Just if you want to have cool armor, you don't have to be an armorer. You can be a alchemist with cool armor that you've put these infusions on. There are different Artificer specialties, which are the sub. What are they, like the they're not
subclasses or
subclasses. Archetype. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, archetypes. They are alchemist, artillerist, armorer, or battlesmith. So there's 4. Artillerist. Is that artillerist? Artillerist. I like artillerist. And they're each really neat. We'll go through them a little bit more. I guess. Yeah, I mean, why not fucking right now, though? Like, we did the same thing with attunements. The only reason I skipped spells is
because we shouldn't have done that. That's silly. We're never going to get done if we keep bouncing all over the place. So we'll go into the subclasses after we get done with the pure Artificer thing. I think we can knock out the rest of this page before we go on break and then see what happens. Right tool for the job is the next 3rd level one. You can produce your artisan's tool set in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. This creation requires an hour of uninterrupted work, which can coincide with a short or long rest. Though the product of magic, the tools are non-magical, and they vanish when you use this feature again. So you can just some of these let you become proficient in a certain tool type or whatever, so you don't always have to carry every single one around.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. You can just like pop one in or something along those lines. It's another ribbon-esque feature.
Mm-hmm.
It is really neat that you can just sort of, because they're kind of expensive and a lot of them weigh, enough that if you have proficiency in 8 different tool sets, carrying around is going to be a pain in the butt, if that's weight's a thing that you guys track.
And if you get stripped naked and thrown in
that's
jail,
what I was going to talk about.
Still make yourself some thieves tools or something.
Yeah, well, you can make yourself some thieves tools and then make your like you can build off yourself. Like I feel like the Artificer, like you could be just locked in a cell with nothing and then start making objects. It's like, where are you getting the material to make these clocks and shit? Like you just a little gnome.
Everything's made out of the straw batting.
How are you doing this? Oh, I just used ties and straws together to make thieves tools.
Coconuts.
Yeah,
I made a megaphone out of only this swirl and a megaphone.
I got a lamp hooked up. It's just a stick with a rock that glows on it. It's just over my work area. It's just great. I love it.
Everybody's like,
now I got a question for
nicer
you guys.
Quarters than I have.
Okay.
Would you allow a third level artificer with this ability score or this feature to produce like a crowbar or like a piton or a hammer? Because a lot of those things I think are a part of a tool set, right?
Yeah.
Which one?
What?
Which one?
None of them, all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, a hammer would be obviously a part of
hammer.
Smith's
absolutely,
tools.
Definitely. Yeah. No, that's gonna be like all
you
of
could
them.
almost consider a crowbar
is
part of a small pry bar as a part of a thieves' tools.
Right.
Maybe.
So hang on.
Maybe.
Or carpenter's tools. Maybe carpenter's tools. Consider it part of that.
Reading this,
I guess
you gotta. So reading this, it's not quite as good as I think we think it is. You've learned how to produce exactly the tool you need, semicolon, with thieves' tools or artisan tools in hand. You can magically create one set of artisan tools in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. So if you are stripped naked, you at least need a set of simple thieves' tools in order to create other tools.
You'd have to hide your thieves' tools in your secret magic pocket.
Right, your secret pocket.
Yeah, but I think there's at least one of these. Yeah, well, duh. That's everybody.
Everyone knows about the secret pocket. Right.
But there's at least one subclass that lets you just like poof one into your hand, I think. But yeah, I didn't realize that was a requirement. I'm pretty sure that there is. I thought it was Alchemist or something, but I could be crazy. I could just be making it up too, because that might have been what I was reading and thinking that it was the thing that did that. So but then yeah, 4th level, obviously you get the ASI, and it's a normal progression. It's not as good as the fighter, but otherwise it is the same as everyone else.
There's new feats. Should we just go talk about those real quick and then come back? No, I just
we didn't even really talk about those when we were doing the flyover.
Right.
Level 6, you get the expertise.
Yeah, for tools.
The tool sets.
It's real neat.
Pretty cool. I do think that that's a little limited as a general rule. Most DMs, at least there aren't many games I've found that you can regularly get away with using your tool set proficiency. So expertise in that, other than thieves' tools is nice to have for sure. And I've had an alchemist.
Well, okay, so it says your proficiency bonus is now double for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. Does that include some of these abilities that need tools to use?
Uses your proficiency with a tool. I don't like the way they worded that.
Yeah, I don't either, because honestly, you could. I would see a crafty player arguing for the magic, like, oh, I'm using my tools to cast magic, so it's an ability.
I'm I'm opening this door with a crowbar. Why don't I get it? Like, it's a strength check, but why wouldn't I?
Right, I'm using
an ability check that I'm using a tool for.
I use my carpenter's tools to do it.
Yeah, right.
That was something I was gonna say too, is like an overarching they are way less precise with some of the wording in here. I feel like it's not, or it's at least they don't use the same standardized language that I see.
Right.
In another.
I mean, maybe it's meant to be
and
that
yeah,
way.
and it
Maybe
also
it's
doesn't.
Like, you know, if you can argue to your
stacks with
DM that you
expertise
can
as
use
fast.
your tools to make that ability check, that you know, you do better at it.
Right. I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I guess.
I mean,
I'm grumpy about it.
You're gonna have a hard time. Yeah, I don't like it. I wish that they had been more specific with their wording, and made that clear, if that was their intent. But there's always a few hanging sentences like that where it's like, what do they really mean here?
Yeah.
So,
7th level is Flash of Genius. You gain the ability to come up with solutions under pressure. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an ability check or a saving throw, you can use a reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the roll. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Pretty cool. Pretty neat.
Yeah, you can help other people make the check too, which is fun. I think that's nice. It's a nice like additional thing that just sort of shows their, like, you know, you can just say it's a device you're able to whip out and, you know, use at the proper moment to deflect whatever, reverse the polarity or whatever nonsense you want to put on it. Like I like that they've got stuff like that are still like the abilities are still very mutable as far as like dressing them up. You can make that look however you want still. And then the moving on to 10th, I suppose you got the magic item Adept is the one that gives you the four attunement slots. And then you can craft if you craft a magic item with rarity common or uncommon, it takes you quarter of the normal time and costs you half as much of the usual gold.
It's pretty cool.
So you can just crank out those magic items.
Yeah.
I mean, magic items take forever to make, but
now you can crank them out.
That's definitely
even half the time is still a long time.
Yeah,
but you'd be able to make a lot of money like that. I'm pretty sure.
Just selling bags of holding left and right.
Well, actually, no, because you need. I'm not sure. Because I think you buy materials at the same rate basically that the thing costs, but then you'd sell it at half usually anyway. So I don't know.
Right.
A quarter of the time,
sort of
though,
like,
and half as much cost.
Like, how much are you just relying on like the basic rules? If your character is specializing in making and selling magic items, your DM's probably going to implement a system that allows them to.
There isn't much of one.
Because if you're making and selling something, you're not going to go sell it at the flea market. You know, you're gonna have a storefront, or you're gonna have somebody who sells it for you, or whatever.
Get a commission, or something. You're gonna be you're making something for someone who's gonna buy a particular object. If you're spending like months making it or something, which is I think the case in a lot of these. I guess common and uncommon price wise, you're not looking at months usually, but so on down the line basically. But the next feature is one that I think is so fucking cool.
So good.
I love it. I love how they changed it. And I'll explain that in a minute once we've read it.
All right, go. You read it, Brett. You haven't read one of these. Yeah, go for it.
You can now store a spell in an object. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon or one item that you can use as a spell casting focus. And you store a spell in it, choosing a first or second level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires one action to cast. You needn't have it prepared. While holding the object, a creature, not just you, can take an action to produce a spell's effect from it using your spellcasting ability modifier. If the spell requires concentration, the creature must concentrate. The spell stays in the object until it's been used a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum of twice, or until you use this feature again to store a spell in an object. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
What they've done in earlier versions of this class is you had to cast the spell into the item. You had to use the spell slot, and then it could be used once. And it was no different than just casting the spell.
Right.
And all it allowed you to do was allow somebody else to use it, to trigger it, or to be the person who, quote unquote, uses it.
Right.
This is like, in addition to your normal spell slots, in addition to your normal spells, you can just make a wand of Cure Light Wounds.
Yeah, and then you can give it to someone else
a bajillion times.
You know, like you can do a lot of really interesting stuff because you can use it. You can give party members the ability to cast spells that they wouldn't otherwise be able to cast. Like there's some concentration spells that would be really good if like a fighter or a like a ranger was using the concentration while still like firing from the back lines or on the front, because they have that better constitution check, so they can make the concentration checks better, or something along those lines.
Just the fact that you're already using your concentration to
do something else
on an ability, and then they can also do it to produce another effect. So it's almost an effect producing in a more roundabout way, a way to double concentrate on spells.
That's really cool.
I think the fact that you can use it a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier is just so much.
Yeah.
Like, take somebody who's an 18 intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of first level characters come out with 18 intelligence if you're rolling stats. That's 8 times. And it's first level spells. You can put Cure Light Wounds on that.
Yeah.
And this is daily, isn't it?
Yeah,
if I read that right,
you have to. Well, it goes away until when you use all of it, and then you have to reapply the.
Couldn't you every day reapply it?
Yes.
Whenever you finish,
but it doesn't ever say that they expire or anything.
No, the spell stays in the object until it's been used a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum of once, or until you use this feature again to store a spell in an object.
I think it's sickeningly
Okay, so it's one object at a time.
Right.
Then, though.
Is it, though?
Yes.
Yeah, because if you use it on another object, or you use this feature again to store a spell in an object, then it goes away. So that's what I was trying to figure out is like, could you just have like 100 different random objects per person? Chock full of spells because you spent a week getting ready.
That would be great.
No, but still, that's 8 first level spells every day that you get to just cast at level 1.
Right. Well, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, it increases. So Bags, we were saying that by using the spell storing item Artificer feature and using or applying a first or second level spell to it that requires concentration, you can then give it to another party member and then concentrate on a spell of your own and have them concentrate on another one of your spells that you've put into this item and achieve something like double concentration. Or at least
it's like a fighter that's doing the concentrating for you, then effectively they wouldn't need that. You're not losing out on their ability to concentrate on something else.
Right.
But they are able to help, implement your effect.
Yeah.
But I mean, by the time that you're 11th level, you don't get this at first level.
Right.
So by the time you're at 11th level, you've already got a lot of spell slots. You've got a lot of other abilities. Everybody else has got a bunch of cool stuff. So it's still probably a little overpowered. But it's fucking cool.
It is.
It's one spell at a time. You get to give yourself a wand. I think that's by 11th level. If that's too strong, then like there's an issue. I think it's not that.
Your DM has been real
holding out. Yeah,
all your items, all the enemy's items have just been turned to dust every time you kill something. Yep. Every time.
Nobody does that.
Nobody. What kind of
11:15 our break
11:15 is usually break time. Yep. So,
We've only got a couple of features left, though. We should slap through the features. We've got just 3 of them.
Okay. Sure. I mean,
let's just fly through.
I guess
because then we're into Archetypes.
Right. I guess the next one is pretty easy to get through. You can attune up to 5 magic items at once. You ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements on attuning or using a magic item. Hey, that second part, really hilarious. Cool. Yeah, like you could do some
pretty cool,
some funny stuff, like because there are some like orcish objects that would look really funny on a gnome. It's like it says I can use them. Yeah, this armor it doesn't fit me, but I can still use it. Yeah.
Magic items resize to their wield.
Sure.
There's some stuff that's like specific, like would only really be helpful to this class of character.
Right.
Like now I'm a wizard running around with
that you're using your thing is wearing a bunch of or having a bunch of magic items.
Right. Right. So then the next one is Magic Item Master. You can now attune to up to 6 magic items at once. Yes, this is 18th level. Yep.
That's a couple.
That's a lot.
It is a couple.
It is double
but I guess
the number
at that point, though, that's just, you get your 3 and then 3 of your infusions, essentially.
Right.
Probably at that point.
Well, and
there are infusions that don't require it, but
every level you're getting infusions.
Right.
You're getting more maximum infused items. You're getting more spells. So there's a lot of stuff in between those levels too that you get.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
At that level, you're. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you don't see in the text basically.
Right.
And then
at that level you've got 6 infused items.
Right, and you're moving and mixing them around. You're just like a melting pot of magic items.
You really are.
A 20th level sort of Soul of Artifice. You've developed a mystical connection to your magic items, which you can draw on for protection. You gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you're currently attuned to. That's sickening. That's dumb.
So dumb.
But it's 20th level spell. Or 20th level
It is 20.
So it's always
20.
dumb.
Yeah, it's level 20. You're a god.
If you reduce to
point.
0
That's
hit
epic
points,
level
you're not
D&D.
killed outright. You can use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 hit point instead of 0.
So
you've got like
that.
7 lives.
Yep.
Or
6
10 lives. Or
7. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess like all kinds of nonsense.
I love it because
you got a bunch of little phylacteries bouncing.
Yeah, and it's just like imagine like you get hit by a red dragon, it just rips off some of your armor, and you're like, nope, I'm still okay. And like blows again, your shield shatters. You're like, nope, I'm still up. Like just like the very beginning of RoboCop, when they're shooting him, and it's just like, I'm still alive.
Poor Murphy.
All right, well now that we've gotten through the features, we should take a break here.
Yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for loving me with all of your heart. But only me.
And other body
Not
parts.
these other two.
Oh, they love me with other body parts. You can have the hearts.
All right.
Uncomfortable.
It's okay. You're in a safe place there.
You guys can keep your body parts.
Eric doesn't need to be loved by any part of you.
It's cool.
If you like what we're doing, and you want to see some more of it, get some more of this awesome action, there's all sorts of conversations about D&D and Dungeon Master stuff going on in our Discord that you can find below. If you want to see more of our content, every Monday and then every Thursday we stream. Monday is Old for Gold Enterprises, and Thursday is this Table 13. Every other Tuesday, at some point in the future, we're going to be resuming the what's that? Waterdeep. Thank you. 4 Orphans of the Apocalypse, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And keep tuned for on that. We'll get that set up and going.
We're off next week for Monday, though.
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
We are off next week for Monday.
Oh, that's
we're going to be running a rerun on Monday.
We will be doing just a rerun of the last episode, which was awesome, and you should definitely check it out. You can find it in VODs, or you can just watch it next Monday. And yeah, you can always follow, subscribe, do all that stuff here on Twitch to get notifications that we're going to go live. Or if you want to help support us financially, you can go to Patreon and help us there. There's different tier rewards and stuff like that. So come hang out in our Discord, and don't be a stranger.
Don't be a stranger. We will be back in 15 minutes. See you then. And we're back from break. Hello, everybody.
Oh, wow.
Table 13 here, doing more Tasha's Cauldron. We have gotten, finally, to the Artificer's specialties. The Alchemist, Artillerist, Armorer, and Battle Battle Man. Battlesmith.
That's my favorite archetype. Battle person.
Battle person.
Battle person is
anyway.
what it's called, though.
Alchemist. Yes, but we're doing the Alchemist right now, which I didn't screw up, so it's not funny.
Good work. Also,
now
that you're nitpick, I'm gonna raise that anyway.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, my nitpick here is it's a 2-pronged nitpick. I think some people are gonna hold one tighter to one prong or another, find it more legitimate. But my first complaint with it is I don't feel like an alchemist in the way I see it, which is an old man like mixing potions together, and Artificer, which is like kind of like the same idea, but with technology rather than potions. And see, to me, like wizard is another version of this, is someone who has like learned chants or read books so they can cast spells, and an alchemist is someone who's learned how to mix plants and mush herbs so they can cast spells, and an artificer is someone who's learned how to build machines that can make magical effects. But they have subsumed Artificer underneath or they've subsumed Alchemist underneath Artificer as if it is a subtype of Artificer, which I find confusing. And then the second complaint is that Alchemist is already a tool set, and so much like Brett pointed out in our break, that Thieves' tools and the Rogue archetype Thief also kind of suffer from this.
Like, it's similar, I guess. I didn't think about it, but the next one's armor, and that's
right, armor is tools.
That kind of blacksmith. But I don't think that you share the same word. That one got me as well. I definitely cling a little hurt, like you were saying. Whoops, bonked my mic. Like you were saying, I think I adhere stronger to 2. I think that is like a lame use of language. Right. They could have done something else there. But I will say that the answer that I have to that is also an answer to point 1, which is that they're going for like the Aleister Crowley,
right,
like occult alchemist, like that, Philosopher's Stone kind of stuff,
right,
which is transmuter magic. Absolutely, it's the same idea. But I think they've also made an effort across the board, as we'll see as we go through the rest of these subtypes, to let a bunch of different classes serve similar roles, right, so that you can achieve a narrative concept that is like similar to the wizard through a different mechanic.
Right.
I definitely see that, and I recognize where you're coming from on that. But to me, it doesn't bug me as much because I like nerded out about the weird trend toward alchemy that revived for a while,
right,
in the not so distant past here, which was really interesting. That sort of rise of occult stuff. And it's like sort of that class to me that does fit very well with the Artificer thing. That's like one branch of the way you would use, it's basically chemistry plus magic, and
right,
it's like sort of the tech. I get it, that it's like, it's a skill set. Why are you making that into a class?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I will say, I will agree to some level on your first point, your first prong.
Okay.
Because I'm playing an alchemist.
Okay.
In a game that is this exact class, and it feels weird up to that point with the infusions and some sort of how it operates, that like a lot of what you do up to level 3, up to 3rd level,
is
very
stuff.
dependent on like tinkering stuff,
yeah,
and doing stuff like that, and then suddenly you're
just
an alchemist.
Potion, your alchemist tool set for that, and
but I mean, there's not really a lot of great infusions for that. Your infusions are either items,
whatever to do whatever. I mean, it's the same hand wave, I guess, to me. At least I see where you guys are coming from.
In this
stuff. Whatever.
Though We should move.
alloy
We
now.
could talk about the phonology of this word for an entire half hour, but we should move on to actually the mechanical ability of the Artificer. So
see if we can't knock out this one
right away. You gain
session.
proficiency with Alchemist supplies. So that makes perfect sense. You become an alchemist and you gain proficiency with alchemist supplies. If you already have this proficiency, you gain proficiency with another type of artisan tools of your choosing to, I suppose, help you in your potion making as well.
I assume that the idea is that a lot of people will, from level 1, already have that proficiency because that was the theme of their character they were going for or whatever. And then you still get something out of it.
Right.
If you do that.
So then you get Alchemist Spells. Third level Alchemist feature. You always have a certain spell. Always have certain spells prepared after you reach particular levels in this class, as shown in the Alchemist spell table. These spells count as Artificer spells for you, but they don't count against the number of Artificer spells you prepare, which is pretty cool. They're
like the cleric or paladin's domain spells, essentially, or oath spells, or whatever they call them.
That are always there and they don't count against. So it just allows you to have more options. The third level
and most of these are not on the list.
Right.
There's spells that you don't have access to from the regular alchemist list, so it helps you further kind of define your character there.
And then you get this experimental elixir feature. Whenever you finish a long rest, and this is also third level, whenever you finish a long rest, you can magically produce an experimental elixir in an empty flask you touch, which I love the image of that. Just like just kind of, which I would probably flavor as me pushing stuff into the flask and like mushing it up or something like that. But
you just tap one and it fills up. It's kind of cool too.
You have this experimental elixir and elixir flask you touch. Roll on the experimental elixir table for the elixir's effect, which is triggered when someone drinks the elixir. As an action, a creature can drink the elixir or administer it to an incapacitated creature. I like that little amendum there because you can like push it down someone's throat. They don't actually have to swallow it. You just have to have someone spending the action to get it down their throat. You can create additional experimental elixirs by expending a spell slot of first level or higher for each one. When you do, you can use your action to choose the elixir in an empty flask you touch and choose the elixir's effect from the experimental elixir table. Really cool. I like that ability also that allows you to basically fill up bottles with your spell slots.
Yes. They have not. It is not easy to do this in the sort of extant system for brewing potions and stuff like that. This is a much more functional way, and I think that it's cool that they've like worked into that, and they get way more powerful.
Yeah,
it's cool. You can like actually start getting some pretty serious healing out of them and stuff like that. Through some of these later on things.
And it is random, so that each experimental elixir is produced at random. You can't choose, but they're all positive.
Unless you spend the spell slot.
Yeah, when you spend, I was going to say the ones
you
automatically produce are
random. Yeah, but when you spell it, I missed that, but you're right. And there are...
that would be annoying
if
you spent a spell slot.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's a fun little bit. That the one you get per day may or may not be one you really want to use today, but you got it.
And I don't think they disappear either, right?
They do. They
after you take a long
last
rest,
until the end of your next long rest.
Yep. There it is.
Right.
So they are healing. You regain some hit points plus intelligence modifier. Swiftness increases 10 feet. Walking speed by 10 feet. Resilience gains +1 bonus to AC for 10 minutes. Boldness, the drinker can add a D4, can roll a D4 and add their number rolled to every attack roll and saving throw they make for the next minute. Flight, that's actually really good. Boldness, that's really good. If you roll a 4 on that, that's nice.
It's just a third of blast.
Oh, that is, it's a third of, you're Flight, the drinker gains a flying speed of 10 feet for 10 minutes, and transformation. The drinker's body is transformed as if by the alter self spell. The drinker determines the transformation caused by the spell and the effects of which last for 10 minutes. Also really neat. Yeah. So they're all interesting. Some are not as great as others, and some aren't going to be super effective in combat, while others are reasonably, can be very effective. I mean, resilience alone just gives you a +1 AC. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, for just something that you can stack on other stuff.
Right. A floating +1 is hard to come by.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I think you can get, it's probably, without that, I don't know how, it's probably one of the higher ACs you can manage. Between that and infusions, I'm sure you can
armor stuff.
The founded accuracy technically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Especially as a caster. So yeah, that's really neat. I like the experimental elixir stuff. So that's everything you get at 3rd level, which is a lot. That's a lot of stuff that you get dumped on your lap at 3rd level. At 5th level, you get this Alchemical Savant ability. 5th level alchemist feature.
Yes.
You've developed a masterful command of magical chemicals, enhancing the healing and damage you create through them. Whenever you cast a spell using your alchemist supplies as a spellcasting focus, you gain a bonus to 1 roll of the spell. That roll must restore hit points or be a damage roll that deals acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage, and the bonus equals your intelligence modifier, minimum of +1. It's pretty good. That makes some stuff much more powerful.
It just makes all of your spells that heal or do damage with those points add your intelligence modifier, which is really cool. Because if you, I don't know. Do cantrips require materials?
No. No. Generally not, anyway.
Well, never mind then. Let's say, like, if you...
Why?
Because a lot of cantrips don't add your intelligence modifier for damage.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't need...
So this would have features that give you that, but
you still need a focus to cast cantrips, right?
No.
Yep. But your tools are your focus.
If they require materials.
An alchemist or an artificer or whatever.
No, yeah, but like,
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. Technically, if they don't have
different.
A material, you don't.
Well,
the focus stands in place of your components. Yeah, you use
the focus is only required when you need materials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And instead of any material components that aren't listed with a specific like monetary value, you can just use your staff or your in this case, Artificer's case, your tool set or whatever that you picked.
So you technically don't use your alchemist supplies to cast a cantrip. It doesn't require material components, so you wouldn't be able to utilize that bonus. But any spells that do.
Right.
I guess then you'd be looking at like people who have the like Rod of the Pact or something shouldn't be adding that bonus to their Eldritch Blast or whatever because it's a cantrip technically, but you absolutely do. So, and that's because it's this right? Like, I'm not sure about that. I feel like that's weird.
With that.
If you cast through a focus, like, or if you're casting, I think cantrips would still benefit from it. I feel like in my mind, like you're still, whether or not it has a material component, you're still like if you had a +1, whatever, spellcasting focus of any kind, if you were casting a cantrip, I feel like it should still apply, I guess.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the case. I see. It's like
I'm not sure what the ruling is like for real on that though. That's a weird little sticky spot though.
It's interesting.
It's kind of similar to that situation with using toolkits and getting efficiency bonus.
Well, can I say that it's a skill check that I'm using my tool?
Right.
I mean, and at that point though, if you can reasonably explain, actually to go back to that, if you can reasonably explain using that tool, maybe it should be that tool proficiency check instead of whatever skill or ability check you were asking for otherwise. So maybe that isn't as weird there, but I don't know. That's strange.
Anyway,
It's a funny little quirk. But
that's a thing I think as a DM you sort of
cantrips,
approach and see how it goes.
Yeah,
And if it's stupid
I'd
powerful,
say to
maybe
hell with
maybe
it.
you put the
Yeah,
dash on it.
exactly. I agree. I think you'll let it slide until you find out that it's like, okay, yep, every
you're
time you cast a
unbalancing.
cantrip, getting that is really hurting.
Right.
But I think sorcerers, it's like whenever you deal X, element damage, you get to add this, you get to add your modifier. So they word it differently so that it is specifically applied to cantrips.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like they intended that to not.
Well, you also get to double it up. You also get to double it up with some stuff like cure light wounds or whatever, cure wounds. You get your intelligence bonus or whatever.
Right.
You get your spellcasting modifier on it.
Yeah.
This allows you to also get another spellcasting modifier on it.
Sure.
Right.
Minus your proficiency bonus.
But that's, I guess, the okay.
Yeah.
So they could be trying to limit it intentionally there. I see what you mean. I don't know. Who's to say?
Anyway,
that's a thing for each table to figure out, but I'd say to hell with it.
Moving on to
restorative reagents.
Yeah, you go ahead, Brett. You do it. You said it.
You can incorporate restorative reagents into some of your works. Whenever a creature drinks an experimental elixir you created, the creature gains temporary hit points equal to 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1 temporary hit point. You can cast less. I don't know how you would get anything less than. You couldn't get less than 2. I mean, I guess
somehow set up in a situation where you, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Add a -2 in your intelligence.
Funny. You can cast Lesser Restoration without expending a spell slot and without preparing the spell, provided you use Alchemist Supplies as a spell casting focus. You can do so a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
Yeah, it's
so
really
you basically
cool.
just have a cure-all in your back pocket.
Yep.
Cure some.
It's the Philosopher's Stone stuff. It's that like you're just it's chemistry to the point of magic kind of thing. It's fun. Cool beans stuff. And then you're making those experimental elixirs. The first one you get a day, whatever it is, it now also does this 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier of temporary hit
really
points.
cool.
That's like a really nice
better
add.
than healing because you can be fully healed up and still benefit.
Hey, I've got a weird question.
And if you get the healing and the temporary hit points. Sorry, go ahead.
It's something that I've never come across, but I want to know real quick how you guys rule. Do temporary hit points count as HP when dealing with like things like death saving throws? Like if I give someone 2 temporary HP and they're rolling death saves, do they get to stabilize, or is it because it's temporary, it's a different class? Because I've never run into that.
Because it's base mechanic stuff, but
yeah.
I don't think that they pick you back up.
Right.
Another question is it affected by things like sleep?
Right.
Do they count in for things like spells that reutilize your hit points total? Or
I don't think so, because hit point total does not reference your temporary hit points anywhere.
Right.
And that is kind of specifically mentioned as a separate, because temporary hit points are separate from your actual hit points kind of thing.
But there's still hit points technically.
Yeah, if you have 0 hit points, they're temporary hit points. It's a different category.
Right.
Most of the time, it
doesn't restore you to consciousness or stabilize you.
Okay.
They put that in the SRD.
Well, and in most cases, temporary hit points are explained away as having like magic armor or a shield of some kind. It's not making you healthy. It's providing a buffer between
here's
enemies
another question. So if you're at 0 HP and you're making death saves and someone attacks you and deals damage, you automatically fail a death save. If you have temporary HP, would you, like as an unconscious person, you have 6 temporary HP and they only do 5 damage? Do you get to just explain that roll as it was the temporary HP absorbing the damage?
You still take the damage.
And still make the death save?
I would say.
Okay.
That you don't fail the death save.
But you're taking otherwise you wouldn't reduce your temporary hit point total. But if you weren't taking damage. But I would say that like if you're gonna be worried about getting killed outright while you're on the ground or something, that it's still like useful in that sense. But
Because
But yeah, to
otherwise,
me,
once you're
it's a hit
unconscious,
either way, regardless of what kind of hit
HP,
points you lose.
Yeah. Because it sounds like once you're.
But I would have to look at that because
yeah.
if they say, sorry, if you take hit points and that's what causes
Right.
it, then yeah, maybe they're not talking about temporary hit points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, narratively based, in a situation where I don't know the answer and somebody does, and this happens in a game of mine, and I don't have time to look it up, I would argue it doesn't. It very well might be differently, but the way that they narratively explain a lot of temporary hit points, I would say it just breaks part of your magical armor off, where it's blocked by the shield.
Really operate that way, and that's like the one I go to when I think of. It's just like you're, got some like magical buffer in your goo that's holding you together more better or something. I guess I don't know. But
anyway,
there's no reason to say it doesn't work that way.
My question comes is if like you're taking death saves and they rolled like a change, like your face potion at the random, but they still get this temporary hit points, and they shove the change your face potion down your throat. Will that give you any benefits, as in like shielding you from death saves or making you conscious? But it didn't sound like
might make you look different.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're gonna die with a stranger's face.
That's cool. Nice.
Anyway, so we're at 11:56. We should get this last one done here before we wrap it up for the night.
I suppose we're almost there.
Chemical Mastery, 15th level Alchemist feature. You have been exposed to so many chemicals that they pose little risk to you, and you can use them to quickly end certain ailments. You gain resistance to acid damage and poison damage, and you are immune to the poisoned condition.
So good.
Pretty good.
I've been building up my immunity.
Yeah. You can cast Greater Restoration and Heal without expending a spell slot, without preparing the spell, and without material components, provided you use Alchemist supplies as a spellcasting focus. Once you cast either spell with this feature, you can't cast the spell with it again until you finish a long rest. That's great. Like, you just have to have a mortar and pestle in combat, and you can just whip up a heal you good paste or something.
Regrow your goddamn limbs.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's not Greater Restoration. I don't remember, but I think
starfish. Heal. Yeah,
you can. Nice.
Starfish extract.
But that's such a cool ability, and I really like that. Yeah, this Alchemist, their spell list, they've got Healing Word and mass Healing Word and Raise Dead and stuff. They've kind of got this like the temporary hit points mechanism from the experimental elixirs. There's one of the healing types. Like there's sort of a healing subtype. It's kind of cool. You don't get a it's not a straight up normal healer, but it's a fun way to build like a half caster that heals effectively.
Absolutely.
And then has some other weird cool tools and tricks. You're not just the standard cleric or whatever, but you can keep people from dying.
And how? Well,
neither of those allow you to regrow limbs, by the way.
Right, neither of them do. But
you're
can
right,
get
don't.
cured.
I think I'm thinking of.
You can be cured of just about goddamn anything that's ailing you, though.
Yeah. Except I'm missing my Armitis. Right.
That's that worst, Yeah.
When you're I'm missing my armor is swollen.
When we get to that. They can solve the Armitis.
Yeah, they can. they really can.
You just need a team of artificers
for next session.
Yeah.
All right.
Come back for the multi-hand stuff.
So if you guys are still here and you're still listening, still hanging out, thanks for joining us. Next week Next week we're going to jump into armor and the other ones, artillerist and battle boy or whatever Kyron called it.
Battle person.
Battle person.
Those subclasses, and see where we get with that. If we get through all those and have some time left over, we'll jump into another part of the book. But we're just going to kind of crawl through this, I think, with with it just coming out and there being a whole lot of really cool content in here. I think kind of diving deep and
we're going to learn
what it has to offer and sharing that with you guys is kind of
the
the intent here.
Options when we get to it, all that fun stuff. There's so many cool things they've added.
Yeah.
Super neat.
And excited to explore them all with you guys. Thank you again for joining us at Table 13. We are Irrational Radio, and we will see you next week. Have an excellent night. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.